and it was just unbelievable. Like, it was something I'll never forget. And I really hope I'll be able to play on the next home world championship. And that's definitely a motivation, because I know they'll turn up even more, and this was just crazy. I always make sure to thank all those fans and volunteers and organizers who just kind of set that up and gave us that opportunity. It was awesome.
Welcome to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that puts you right in the heart of women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and each week I'm on a mission to showcase the incredible women who are lighting up the ice across the globe. Get ready as I chat with rising stars, seasoned pros, and all the game changers making waves in the world of women's hockey that you won't find anywhere else. So, let's dive into the exciting world of women's hockey, and make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that brings you inside the world of women's hockey one story at a time. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Kristýna Kaltounková, a skilled and powerful forward from Czechia who's projected to be one of the top picks in this year's PWHL Draft. She's coming off an outstanding collegiate career at Colgate and now looks to take the next step in her exciting hockey journey with the PWHL. Kristýna, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm good. I'm really excited to be on this podcast and chat with you.
Good. Yes, we have so much to chat about. But before we get to that and your exciting journey through hockey, what's next for you, how your journey came to be, we always start off with a fun little game. So before we get started, let's dive into that game. And that game is called Pick One. You can probably surmise what you're going to do in this game. I'm going to give you two different options. You're going to pick one. Just go with your gut. Don't overthink it. You ready? Okay. Overtime win or blowout victory?
Overtime win.
Nice. Early morning practice or late night game?
Late night game.
Okay. Home cooking or team dinner out?
Team dinner out for sure.
Would you rather the home crowd energy or silencing the away crowd?
Home crowd energy.
Yeah, nothing beats that, right?
Nope.
Yeah. Would you prefer to score the game-winning goal or have a game-saving block?
Game-saving block. Had a couple of those, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. I like that answer. Are you someone who prefers a pregame nap or pregame coffee?
Pre-game nap, not a coffee drinker, actually, so.
Okay. That's fair. And we're going to end with this one before we get into our great conversation here. Would you rather leave a legacy on the ice or leave a legacy off of the ice, and why?
I think a little bit of mixture of both. I think as a hockey player, you kind of are meant to leave a legacy on the ice, but with that comes a legacy off the ice. Being a good teammate, but also being a good community member goes a long way and plays off of each other.
Oh, good answer. What a way to kick things off today. I really appreciate that. That was great. We're already now through the first segment of the show. Now we get to dive into your career. And your career, as all careers do, has a beginning. And I want to hear about that beginning. Take us back to those early days back in Czechia. What first got you into the sport of hockey?
It was actually my brother and watching him play. He's 3 years older than me, so my parents didn't have a babysitter, so I had to join them to bring my brother for practice. And they would just sit me on the boards while he was on the ice, and I would just start bawling my eyes out, screaming that I want to get on the ice too. And I was probably 2.5 or 3 years old, so my parents didn't really know what to do with me, and then they tried it and put me on the ice. Somehow I just, some kid skated with a chair. Apparently I just jumped on and I was just a happy kid. And then it kind of started off and I was rollerblading around the house and breaking things and, became a hockey addict.
So do you remember, I know that this is going back a while, but do you remember what it was that I'm not going to ask you maybe what it was initially because you were 2 or 3, and I think that's way too young to know for sure. But at least, as you got older, what it was specifically about hockey that really kept that fuel going and made you want to get out on the ice and maybe made you as successful as you were even just early on being able to jump on the ice. I still can't skate, and I've tried a bunch of times, and you're telling me you went on and you're a natural. What was it that helped with that?
I feel like trying to be competitive with my brother, I gave him a hard time quite a bit. But he was a great brother to me, and he kind of let me through. And so I think being able to be competitive with him, but also with myself, being able to push myself. I'm a big believer in feedback, and I feel like hockey is so honest. So that's something that I really value about hockey. And I feel like back then I just loved that I was able to put work in and I could see progress, or I could see that it doesn't work. Like, feedback's not always positive. So there were some setbacks, but like, that's all part of it. And I feel like that just kept me going and want to get better. Like, I want to make sure, I feel like I'm a perfectionist a little bit. So I feel like getting better and better, even though there were some setbacks, was something that drew me in. And then obviously, like, I don't know, it's the ice. It's just like the skating around. It's, I don't know, nothing beats a team game where you're with your buddies in the locker room and you go on the ice and play a hockey game, and it's just the best.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things about a sport like hockey, where it is really a team sport. It's, yes, you have individual great performances, and that's all fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, like, you're only as successful as the players or your teammates around you. And there's nothing, like you said, there's nothing when you have camaraderie in that dressing room and on the ice. Nothing beats that. Nothing beats that. Could you take us back to the hockey scene? Growing up, what was the hockey scene like for you? Was it something that a lot of people, like, was hockey like a really popular sport for you? Was it, let's go back to the roots for you.
Well, it was tough because only my grandpa and my brother played hockey. My dad maybe like a couple games as a hobby, but other than that, I mean, my mom was a soccer player. My dad used to do enduro, which was a motorcycle racing off road. So I came from an active family, but I just feel like, I mean, I played so many sports, but we just always were guided to hockey because my brother played it and all of our friends from my hometown played it, and we would go on vacations with the families, and it was just a tight community here. But definitely, like, only a few girls here and there, not a whole lot. So that was tough at times, especially a little bit older. Once the boys hit puberty and it started kind of showing up in that sense, where some boys couldn't take that a girl could be better than them, or that you go and you hit a guy and oh, you got hit by a girl, oh my god. So then he goes and tries to absolutely destroy you by the boards. So that's kind of how it went. But I also ran into so many great coaches that I'm so thankful for, that back then they were probably called crazy for having a girl in their team and for constantly giving her playing time and supporting her and her growth. So I appreciate that more than anything. Obviously ran into coaches that did not want to do that. But again, like, I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason. So those things pushed me and made me stronger. At times it was tough. I mean, I never wanted to quit hockey, but it was definitely something that was challenging me. This environment of people telling you that you can't succeed. There's nowhere for you to go. So that was tough at times, but also some great times. I made some really good friends that I still talk to this day, and that's something to cherish, but also remember those hard times that also made me the person and player I am today.
Could you maybe talk a little bit about those obstacles, those challenges a little bit? Because as you said, obviously, up until very recently, hockey wasn't necessarily a career path for women, unfortunately. So especially those early days where there were those coaches that maybe didn't necessarily believe in you, or your male counterparts didn't want to play with you. How did you how did you overcome those obstacles? And were there ever points where you felt like maybe this just isn't, like, I love hockey, but maybe this just isn't a realistic path for me?
Yeah, and I'll start with your last question. When it became maybe this isn't a realistic path for me, that's when I started thinking about going abroad to play in the US. Um, but before that, I mean, and that was only because I was able to see that it was possible by, seeing players like Mrazova and Vanishova, Psibilova, players like that who were playing abroad and kind of showed me the path. But up until then, I don't know. I was young, and my parents were always very supportive. But they knew that if I was gonna get somewhere, I have to get through whatever obstacles I'm gonna face. Uh, but yeah, I feel like I'm kind of a person that if there's any kind of obstacle, I just put my head down and I work my way through as hard as I can. So I don't remember. I remember times when I was going to a morning practice and I was downstairs outside the door and I was just dreading going to practice, especially at 7 a.m. or whenever it was. Plus, after I left, it was maybe fifth grade elementary school, I was already driving an hour and 15 minutes away to a different team. And then probably 3 or 4 years later, I was driving the opposite way to a different team, another hour away. So it was never I'm gonna walk outside the door and I'll be at the rink in 15 minutes. It was always an hour and something long of a ride, so that didn't add to that. But like again, my parents didn't ever give me the idea of like, no, I don't have to go today because I don't want to. It was just something that, and I actually had a conversation about this with my mom, and she said that a lot of times I just knew that's what I had to do and that's what I was doing. So I just got in the car and I went, practiced, then went back home to school because I was still going to school here. A lot of back and forth, so it was exhausting. But like I feel like my mindset was just set on that, so that's something I was just I don't know, naturally set to do.
And it sounds as though, based off of those experiences, based off of the ups and downs, it's really helped define you as a sure for sure, certainly as a hockey player, but as an individual as well. Having overcome those obstacles has really shown you who you are, and that there really isn't an obstacle or a challenge that you're incapable of over.
I mean, yeah, I got on the plane when I was 15 years old and I went to America alone with, my friend from Czech who was in the same boat. So, with no parents, I see a lot of times parents coming with the kids and, settling them in. We just couldn't do that. We couldn't afford it. So, I went alone and I just had to kind of, I was kind of thrown in a pool and I had to learn how to swim on my own. So, but like you're saying, it all shaped me into who I am, and I was never complaining about that. I was enjoying every bit of it. Obviously, there were setbacks, and that sucked, and I had to get through that. But some of those things were challenges that I was just so excited about.
And it sounds as though, especially early on, there were a number of role models, a number of influences within your life that have really helped to, not necessarily motivate you, but maybe continue to inspire you and drive you and push you. You've mentioned your brother was the first one that you mentioned. It certainly sounds as though your parents were as well. You mentioned a few different Czech players who obviously came over to North America and were successful in the leagues there. Could you maybe talk a little bit more about those role models for you, and how important it was for you to have those, and especially being Czech role models as well, and how that drove you and inspired you?
Well, first of all, it showed me the path of where I'm able to maybe go if I work hard enough. So that was something I strive to do. But yeah, I mean, those girls just, I played roller hockey with them or ball hockey with them. So I was on the same team with them one way or another. But those girls definitely were able to show us that there's something more than just playing with boys and not being accepted to what they say is a male sport. So that was definitely something that helped me for sure.
I want to also ask about Czech culture in general because, especially here in Ottawa, we've had the fortune of having some really great Czech players, Mrazova, Terelova, Venisheva, obviously Coach McLeod. She's not from Czechia, but she obviously coaches the national program there. Could you maybe just share some of your, some of those things about Czech culture that people may not necessarily know about, especially as you're looking to embark on this next exciting chapter, maybe give us a peek behind the curtain, if you will, about Czech culture, some of those things that you wish more people knew about when it comes to the culture in Czechia.
I feel like when it comes to players, it's so different from the US and Canada because there's so many players there, there's not so many players there, girls who play hockey. So that comes with, obviously, the national team. It's, there's only so many people you can beat with for a spot. So sometimes that's tough because then people think that it's automatic to be on that team. So that can create adversity. But other than that, it's about the mindset. I would say, again, like coaching some girls, younger girls in the US, I just feel like it's so automatic for them to be playing for a girls team and whatnot. And I just feel like, I don't know, like Czech girls who come from here and go play over there or just in general have gone through something. And, there's so many girls who have been bullied in the locker room by boys who have, gone through so many of these challenges that, like myself, have made them stronger. But, like, for example, I feel like we're such a tight community, and because there's only so many players, we're able to create this tight community of, like, a lot of people know each other. Same with the younger players. And, I had a dad who messaged me and was like, my daughter wanted to quit hockey because she was bullied in her team, and she watched you guys play it at Worlds. And now she loves the game again and wants to keep going. So I feel like, obviously, that's in the US and Canada too, but because we're so tight, such a tight community here, it's so just, it's just so much more important, I feel like, because there's only, like, we need to cherish those little girls, because once we're out and, we're too old, there's gonna have to be another generation of talent. And so we definitely want to make sure that we're the ones who are, in a sense, raising them and showing them the path, just like, the older girls showed me the path. So that's a part of the leadership and mentorship I'm trying to do here when I coach at different summer camps and whatnot, or when I do individual coaching. I try to talk with the girls, and a lot of it now is questions about, hey, like, what should I be careful about going to the US for the first time? Like, it's things like that. It's passing on the experience, and I feel like that's so important.
Yeah, I mean, especially because there are so many things that you can control, but there are also so many things you can't control. But knowing some of those uncontrollables, and for example, coming over from Czechia to North America, what does that even look like? How does it feel like? What are some of the things that you can do to help curb maybe some of those nerves? Having someone who has gone through that experience is invaluable for the next generation and encourages them to continue wanting to be passionate about this, because that can be a big deterrent. Are you finding that?
Yeah, 100%. But also think about it this way: like, I spent 8 years in the US, and the majority of it, I mean, my parents only saw 2 games in the US this year. 8 years after I was 8 years in the US. And a lot of times the girls from Canada, the US, they go for Worlds over here, for example, this year, and you see all of their parents. Obviously, some of them can't come, but the majority of them have their parents here. So now that's another challenge of, like, prepare those girls for, like, listen, like, you're not going to see your parents for a while. Your parents are not going to be used to, they're not going to be going to your games just like they were. And parents are always the most supportive people, or should be, and mostly are, to those girls and to us. And so that piece, when it's removed, in a sense, that can be really challenging. And so, in a sense, getting used to it, and then kind of how to navigate through it once your parents watch your game again, because that can be nerve-wracking in a sense. I kind of felt that too with this year. But I feel like those are all pieces that are so important to share with the younger generations. But another part of the culture that I wanted to mention is the fan base here. Like, I know, the PWHL is selling out crowds or arenas, and they're huge crowds, but I feel like we showed a lot this year at Worlds. It was unbelievable, and it wasn't just our games. There's so many other games that was at 11:30 in the morning, and there was so many people, and so I just feel like we're just like a loyal group here. Like, we have so many fans, and I feel like when you're Czech, you just have a big heart, and you are a big supporter, and you just go and you have a blast. You drink a beer, you cheer on your favorite athletes, and you just have so much fun. So I feel like that all falls into the culture too. Not to just be talking about girls having a hard time with hockey and boys here, but again, the national team doing so much with new programs to bring in those girls and create other opportunities for those who can't play with the boys, or if they run into any troubles, or just to kind of increase their opportunities on the ice. So very grateful for that, and that all helps so much. But that's kind of for the culture, I feel like.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up about the Worlds this past year. I think I think this is now a natural segue for us to talk about the international stage when it comes to Czechia. But I do want to highlight the fact that I was not at any one of those games. I only had the opportunity to watch them on TV, but it felt very much like I was there. And one of the things that kind of jumped out at me beyond the product on the ice was just how the crowd, it's a very different kind of crowd, because in North America, we're used to the puck gets dropped and it's quiet.
It's quiet and you sit down. Yeah. Here it's just constant jumping and screaming.
It seems amazing. It seems amazing.
Yeah, and in every stance, if you go to a men's game here, you see it. There's a section where it's just the fan base, and they're crazy. Like, their faces are painted. Like, I would kind of compare it to soccer in Europe. It's just constantly loud, and it's amazing. And so I feel like that was so important for people from North America to see, because, and you're right, it's so different, and I didn't even realize it until I felt it, because I could compare both crowds.
What was it like then? I mean, because like you said, you've been in North America for so long, and I know that obviously you've still, and again, we're going to get into it in a moment, but you've still represented your country on a number of occasions, but actually being able to, after so much time in North America, going back to Czechia, playing in front of your home crowd, what was it like to be back in front of that atmosphere and that environment for you?
It was crazy. It was unbelievable. Like, it was one of my favorite memories, because first of all, because it was challenging to go back, and kind of it took a lot to become a part of the team again, and just kind of make my way in. But obviously, with the help from the staff and everyone from the national team, it was much easier, and my teammates. But still, it's the media, it's expectations, and so all those things played a role. But I mean, as soon as that puck dropped, all those expectations, I just kind of let out of my head, and I don't know, just skating around, and I had the privilege to be on the starting line, and that was just crazy. You just skating around, and you could just see all those people staring at you, and the guy who was the host was just reading our names and starting up the game, and it was just so cool. And Czech jerseys everywhere, and signs, and there's just so many fans. And it wasn't just little girls, it was people who were older, who were in their 20s, who were in their 30s. Like, it was just so fun to see, and it was just unbelievable. Like, it was something I'll never forget. And I really hope I'll be able to play on the next home world championship. And that's definitely a motivation, because I know they'll turn up even more. And this was just crazy. I always make sure to thank all those fans and volunteers and organizers who just kind of set that up and gave us that opportunity. It was awesome.
Yeah, over 122,000 total fans over that tournament. It was unbelievable. And like you said, I think one of the highlights was that it wasn't just the games that you'd expect to have sold out. It was the early morning games where it's two random teams, not to take away from the importance of those programs, but two random teams, and the Czech fans, like, that didn't stop them. They were there from right first thing in the morning until the final buzzer at the end of the day. And it was just such an impressive turnout, such an impressive representation of how passionate that fan base is.
Yeah, and I feel like that was a big part of the ones who were in charge of the tournament and our Czech hockey organization, because they made sure that, you know, elementary schools got to go to those games and they were able to paint flags and bring those and make posters for other countries. It was super cool, but again, like, it was such a great organization that helped a lot.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Could you maybe talk a little bit more then about what it means to you to have the opportunity to put on that Czech jersey and represent your country, whether that's obviously like most recently in front of your friends and family, but also just more in general, what it's felt like for you, and to see the growth of women's hockey?
Yeah, it's always an honor. And I was pretty privileged to be able to jump on the ice in front of a home crowd and come back during that timeline. But at the same time, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to come back, even if the World Championship was in Finland or the U.S. So that was something I worked towards too mentally up until this year, and it was, you know, it I don't know, it didn't disappoint. Like, it was just such an honor and pride I felt, you know, being, you know, next to my teammates and sitting in the locker room with one of the best Czech players in the world. And it was just such a privilege, and I soaked it all in, and I learned a lot, not just from my teammates, but from Carla and the rest of the staff. So it was just such a good experience, and it made me excited for what's next. But yeah, I mean, playing in the U.S. for 8 years, something special. Colgate was my home for the last 5 years. But still, like, putting on that Czech jersey, the crest is just something that will always feel different. Because you don't represent a village of 4,000 people. Now you represent a whole country and a beautiful country. And that's something that you take on every time you put on that jersey. And I just try to give it back a little bit every shift. Not only being able to come back and being able to be a part of the team, but also being able to show the fans, this is what we're playing for. We're playing for you. We're playing for Prague, but we're also playing for the smallest village in Czech. And you could see people from all over. Like, I could see a Czech flag with my hometown on it, which wasn't my parents, you know, and it's just, like, so cool. And some of those people have never heard of women's hockey before. And now I go to, you know, to my town, and there's people who are stopping me and asking me for signatures, which is super cool. But again, like, just doesn't stop. Like, when you're on the ice, you just got to give back, because it's not only about you. It's not about the name on the back, to be corny, but now you're playing for much more. And so you kind of carry that responsibility with you, and you have to handle it with care, in a sense. With, you know, being humble, but also work hard. Like, I feel like you can have a bad game, you don't have to score. Those are such uncontrollable things. But as long as you work hard and you prove that you're fighting for your country and for those people, I feel like they'll appreciate it every time.
Yeah, and I think one of the many things that people are starting to realize is that there's a lot more parity when it comes to the international game. Teams are now, it isn't just always going to be the assumed Canada-US finals. And Czechia is a perfect example of that, with back-to-back bronze medals. Seeing the progress of the national program, like, what does that mean to you? And what does that mean to, you know, the future of women's hockey from Czechia as well?
to me, it means that I can compare to the best players in the world. And again, like having respect for them, but I feel like you could tell by my game I was not scared in any sense of any of them. And that it begins with that, because I feel like when you're playing the US and Canada, especially me for the first time, pretty much, I mean, we played against Canada in the U18s, but like, you could be scared because those are players all from the PWHL where, some of the girls on our team don't play for. They play in Sweden, so it's just so different. And you see them on social media, and they're just big dogs. So you could be pretty scared of them. But it starts with the mentality. I feel like having respect, but not giving them too much on the ice. I mean, we're not gonna give them anything for free, and I feel like it starts with that mentality of like we're starting to be comparable to them. So we gotta act like it. We can't just like, because I feel like we played some pretty close games against Canada in the US. Score wise, obviously they might have a deeper roster, whatever it might be. We have to remember that we're getting there. So once we get scored on, it's doable. If we're down by 1 or 2, we can't just be like, all right, we're done, see ya, and get blown out. And I feel like that's what kind of happens sometimes. So I feel like that's why the mentality is so important when it comes to this piece, because you just have to realize that you can come back in any of those games. So if you're down by 2, okay, whatever, we're going after them, and that much more they're gonna feel it with our physicality, with our shots, even if they're just, I don't know, we just throw it at the net. Anything can happen, a weird bounce, but again, we can all do it. We play against, some really good hockey players. We play with some really good hockey players, and so I think the mentality piece is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we leave this segment of the show, I do want to also maybe talk about the impact that a coach like Carla McLeod has had on the program. Obviously, new-ish to the program. Only I think it's 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 years now that she's been a part of that she's been the coach there. What impact have you felt personally from her coaching style and maybe her viewpoint on systems and how is she helping to get the most out of you and maybe more out of you than you thought you had in you?
I feel like, I don't want to comment on coaching styles so much because it's never gonna fit all the players, but I was really happy with the way she was coaching us because it was pretty similar to what we play at Colgate. Play free. Obviously, we play free, but that's more of a mental game. You just you don't hold back. But you have systems either way. You might play free, but we still have a system of, in the D zone and forecheck in every zone and area. So I feel like it kind of translated. And I feel like at this level, the coaches shouldn't really be coaching that much because at this point we kind of know what to do. So it's like, as long as you kind of set us for success and just kind of guide us through and let us do our thing, I feel like it's very helpful. Obviously, there's some players that you gotta coach. They're younger, less experienced, or if they're just struggling with something. But I really enjoyed how much room Carla gave me. I really appreciated the playing time and the opportunity I had to be able to perform and succeed. But again, I don't think that was just given to me for free. So I think she is very good at recognizing hard work. And I love that she wants us to bump players. I just love it. She's like, you go in the corner, bump them. So
well, it really plays to your style, right? That's
yeah,
you're really good at.
Yeah, and then when I went into the box, I just came back. I'm like, Carla, I'm sorry, you told me to bump her. So I bumped her a little too hard at times, but again, you can't. That's something that Colgate coaches always told me. We have to, fine tune the physicality piece, but don't ever take away from it because that takes away from your whole game. So yeah, I might take on some penalty minutes, but at the same time, I'll turn over a lot of pucks and win a lot of battles. And I feel like that's important. That's something Carla wanted, something that Carla values, because she knows how much energy that gives to the rest of the team. Because now, you see your leaders do it, now you want to do it. Like when I saw some of our best leaders do it, I went and I did it even more. You just kind of multiply that. And then it's just like a domino effect, and then it goes from a player to a player. And now players with so many different roles are now catching on, and now it's just like a pandemic that we just bump people and we turn pucks over and we create chances. So, and Carla was a great hockey player, so that comes from that. So she knows what she's talking about. She has a lot of great experience, and so it's hard not to trust her when she tells you what to do. So, it's not something that she just makes up. She knows what to do. She was on Team Canada. She knows those girls, and she knows us very well. So that's just makes it easier.
And now, a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by MB Performance Nutrition, fueling the next generation of hockey players. Whether your athlete is just starting out or chasing next level performance, MB Performance Nutrition has free resources to help, like a meal timing guide and protein powder buying checklist. Founded by Melissa Bufunos, a certified holistic nutritionist and former elite hockey player, MB Performance Nutrition also offers one-on-one coaching, team workshops, and more. Learn more at melissabufunos.com. That's MELISSABOUFOUNOS.com. And now, back to the show. And you mentioned Colgate in there as well, and you've mentioned Colgate a couple of times. So let's talk about that chapter of your career. I feel like it begs the question, or the first question I should ask is, what made Colgate the right choice for you when you were looking at pursuing hockey at the next level?
I feel like just like picking my high school, I wanted something that felt like home a little bit, which is not really the environment, because you don't really know the environment. It's so different from your actual home, but it's the people. So I always looked at the coaches. I really, really put a lot of emphasis on the relationship with the coaches, because those are the people that kind of look after you for your 4 years or 5 years. So, Greg Fargo, Stefan DeCoste, Sophie Leclerc was there at that point. And then, Chelsea Walkland, and now Alex Gettins, Trevor and Bree. There's so many different people that I've experienced at Colgate, and they were all amazing people that kind of shaped my path at Colgate and made it so unforgettable. And when you have good people in charge, then they select good people to be on your team. So obviously there were some times where we faced adversity, and you always want to work on your culture, and sometimes it's just the puzzle pieces are difficult to fit together, but I feel like the coaches always handled it as best as they could. But especially this year, like, we had such a good team internally. It was so fun. I would always come up to Steph's office and I would just say, "Steph, this is so fun." And he would remind me so many times throughout the season, when I was having a hard time, I was stressed, I was leaving for Czech, and then, I had games here or in the US, and he was just like, "Just remember, like, you come up here and you're like, Steph, this is so fun. Like, just enjoy it, soak it in." So that's kind of why I got to Colgate, because the people just were awesome. Obviously, the rink was pretty cool. That's something that I feel like catches a lot of attention, but campus is beautiful. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, looking back, I was kind of naive maybe a little bit, because I didn't think about my other options too much. I slept over at Cornell. I didn't go to Mercyhurst because it was too far, and I hate traveling in the car, and I was just like, no, I'm not going there. And
you did enough of that growing up, so that's fair.
Yeah, that's a part of it, but like, I don't know, like, it was always just my gut telling me to go to Colgate, and I loved my visit, and I loved the people, and I've known Steph for so long at this point, 8 years pretty much, yeah. So we have been able to grow a great sense of a relationship, and and camaraderie. And same with Coach Fargo. Like, he was so influential to me. So it's the people who make the environment and the experience. It's not the place. So I feel like I made a really good decision. Not to say that there were some challenges and setbacks, but again, like, that's everywhere. So if you're just going to run away from it, that doesn't really say much about you as a person, but it just, shows that you try to run away from your, troubles.
Yeah. And maybe share as well, and now that you have the opportunity to kind of reflect on your entire career. I know it's very recently behind you, but maybe, how do you feel as though your game has evolved? Maybe from your first year at Colgate now to graduation and looking at this next chapter. How do you feel like your game has evolved, and maybe you have evolved as a person as well?
I feel like I became more confident in my game, and in my role as a goal scorer. I came in, the season was impacted by COVID, so that was tough, because that was a hard transition on its own, and let alone wearing masks, not being able to be with my teammates much, and it was just weird. Thankfully we got the 5th year, so that kind of made up for it. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. It was just like, I don't know, coming in, I was struggling with the physicality piece a little bit, because I was just going light girls up, because I played boys hockey till I was 15. Yeah. So that was the norm for me. And yeah, I spent 3 years in high school, but that wasn't physical. I didn't have, like, there were girls coming up at me where, yeah, I had a lot of penalty minutes in high school too, but I feel like in college especially, like, there was a lot more physicality, a lot more close-up battles, where I used up my physicality even more. And with that, it's like whenever someone hit my teammate, I was just going after them. So instead of going on power play, we were 4-on-4. It's just those things, because I just couldn't handle people hitting my teammates, and I just always felt like I had to be the one who looks after everyone and who uses their body to protect their teammates and themselves. And then it shifted from that, because there's a role you can play, and I don't think that was necessarily my role. My role was to be a playmaker and goal scorer with, good physicality. That comes secondary. So I think that was a switch in my mindset that, was set up by Coach Fargo and Coach DeCoste. Huge, because I was struggling. I mean, not that I saw red, but it was more just like, I don't know. I mean, I love playing physical. It's fun, but there has to be that kind of balance. So that was really important, and I'm really grateful that those two guys helped me with that. So yeah, and then I became more confident as the years went by. I became more confident with the puck. I was able to protect it more. I worked with Steph more closely in one-on-ones or in practice, fine-tuning different shooting spots and where to get to the good opportunities. So those were all things that I worked on as I transitioned throughout the years. And then my 5th year, I had to take on a role playing D during power kill. So all of a sudden I can just focus on being on the offense and, resting during PK. I went on the ice and I loved it. It was one of my favorite parts of the game. I was not to be excited when someone goes in the box, but I was just so fired up, because I knew I wouldn't be able to score, but I knew I was going to be able to block shots for my teammates and help them out. And it's funny, because me and Hannah Murphy are very good friends, and so she would always tease me about, blocking shots and being on the PK, and all of my teammates would, but, they knew I would, die on the ice for them. Like, there were times where I just had bruises everywhere, where there's no gear. I just went for it. It was crazy. Blocking shots from Izzy Wonder or Sarah Paul, or some of the best shooters in the NCAA. It didn't stop me from anything. Like, I had a big bruise from Haley Wynn on my shin from one point. Cracked my shin guard. But, those are just, I don't know. I feel like as I matured, I realized it's not all about scoring goals. It's more about the team play. And when you have a good group in the locker room, the more you want to do it for them. So I feel like especially this year, that's something that I realized, and that really helped me get to that role.
Yeah, of course. I feel like this conversation, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the Patti Kazmaier nomination that you received. I want to know from you, especially looking back on your own journey to this point, from Czechia to the NCAA and now to the PWHL, very, very soon. What does it mean for you and for Czech hockey to have been, you are the first Czech to have ever been nominated for the Patti Kazmaier Award, which I recognize, like any award, it takes it's a whole team effort that gets you there. But that is something that's super special because that can help to inspire the next generation. When they see it, they can be it. That's what they say. For you, knowing that you have been awarded that, what does it mean to you, and how do you think it will help motivate and inspire those young girls back home to maybe follow in your footsteps?
I feel like it's huge, not just for me, but for those little girls. But I think it's a reflection of my whole 5 years at Colgate. It's not just this year that I just, all of a sudden put something up. So it's just a reflection of my hard work, and dedication. And obviously my teammates, I wouldn't be able to get all those points and, get all those wins without them, like you mentioned. And same with my parents and coaches and everyone who's part of it. But it's definitely an honor because it's something, when you're first to do something from your country, it's always an honor and it's a privilege. And I feel like it's a motivation not only for you, but for other girls. And I think especially because I go and I'm a part of those communities a lot, whether it's coaching at summer camps here or it's, having my own individual lessons, all of a sudden you're closer to those girls. Like, it's more realistic. It's more like they know me, and it's like once you know that person, you become familiar with them. It's like, oh wow, like she's just a girl, like she's just a woman, like I am just like her pretty much, and it's like maybe if I work hard enough, I can do it. And it's all of a sudden it just becomes more realistic and reachable than if I'm just separated in the US and out of the community, because it's like, okay, well, I've never seen her in person. I've never talked to her. What if she does something different? What if, but the more you put on those conversations with those little girls, it just becomes realistic. Like you said, like they can see it, they can be it, and that's big. That's something that I had, experience as a little girl, and that's something that a lot of little girls experience, especially after a home world championship. Like all of those girls are still so amazed by that tournament, and it's a big motivation to them. So just like any individual awards, but again, like always make sure that you highlight all the people who were there with you, starting with your teammates and coaches to your family, friends, everyone who was a part of it. But like use it for motivation and kind of gratitude for all the hard work you have put in.
You've mentioned it a few times, so I really do want to dive in here just for a moment about it. It's clear to you that giving back to the community, connecting with the community, like you said, basically like taking yourself off of what a lot of fans are going to put you on that pedestal. And I think that's, it's like, oh my goodness, look at all the things that she's able to accomplish. I'm never going to be like her. But as soon as you take yourself off that pedestal or that perceived pedestal, if you will, you become, like you said, you become a human being again, right? Has it always been really important to you to make sure that regardless of the success that you have on the ice, that you're as ingrained and as connected to whatever the community that you're a part of, whether that's at Colgate, whether that's back home, whether that's now in this next stage of your career?
Yeah, I feel like it's easy to get sidetracked and soaked in and just kind of the season's exhausting. So if you have to go and do a community event, it can be exhausting. So sometimes, it's a lot. But at the same time, up until the World Championship, I never realized that there were little girls looking up to me, or that there's a community who appreciated me besides my close circle of friends and family. those kind of people. Obviously community at Colgate, but now, I mean, women's hockey's still at the uprise. I'm not gonna act like I'm, Sidney Crosby or anyone, but still, like, just focusing on those little girls. There's so many of them. And so, yeah, taking myself out of the hockey world and being surrounded by superstars in the locker room, like, it's so important to spend time with those people who cheer you on and come to your games and support you. So yeah, I mean, it's hard because the season, like I said, is long and exhausting, but like anytime I can, I mean, we ran so many community events at Colgate that were so fun. And so there's definitely a balance, but it can be doing community work in person, it can be doing stuff online, it can be coaching, it can be, different things. So, like I even wanted to, like I went and donated blood. Like it's just things like that, come a long way. And that's not about hockey. That's just going and being a good person, trying to help others. But, there's so many community things that you can do. And if you just don't feel like, doing one thing at that time, there's so many other opportunities that you could do. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what the PWHL community has in store and what I can experience and get to know those people. But again, like I feel like I don't want to make any promises or talk about how I'm gonna be out there that so much, because it's gonna be a hectic first year, especially at the start. So I'm trying to be very realistic, but like the community is so important, so I'm always gonna try to be a part of it and always gonna do work for the community. But also being realistic of the season and everything else that I have that are my responsibilities with the team and everything else.
Of course, yes, that's totally reasonable. Before we get to more of the PWHL and the next chapter, I want to give you a chance to reflect on your time at Colgate. What, you've shared how you've grown, but what are some of those memories, some of those things that are going to stick with you for your for the rest of your life, or at least this next chapter, the start of this next chapter? What are some of those things to you that really stand out about your time at Colgate? It must just feel like just yesterday you started and here you are now graduating.
Yeah, it really does. But I mean, especially this year, like at one point we had like 15, 16 players, like, because we were short on the bench, and we just never let that affect us. Like we were just joking around about it, and so many people stepped in different roles, and that was a big piece of adversity that we faced this year. And I learned so much from my teammates. Like we were so tight that, we were down by 2 or 3 goals and we were able to come back and win. We had such a limited numbers and we were still able to make it to, the regionals. Like it was just so much. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's so much that has happened at Colgate, whether it's education and getting my degrees, and because I'm getting my master's at the end of August. And so, I don't know, it's just so much, because the people around you shape you, so you go through different things and you learn so many things about yourself, but also about your teammates and your friends. But it's always your teammates who pick you up, and your coaches. So I don't know. That's something I'll carry on with me. It's 5 years. I haven't fully reflected on it just yet, but I feel like with the on ice challenges, we were able to always battle with it head up front. So that was something that I learned a lot from. And then off the ice, like balancing school and games and hockey and everything, like that was a challenge. But especially at Colgate, which is a pretty good education. So yeah, I feel like that's, I don't know, just focusing on those like hardships and moving forward and leaning on those people around you.
Yeah, I feel like as a fan of the sport, we often look at how you do on the ice, and we're like, "Oh, that was a great game," or "Oh, maybe a bit of an off game for her." But we also don't really necessarily think about the fact that you're also trying to balance like your academics, and also, maybe wanting to have a social life at some point too, right?
Yeah.
Like something that doesn't involve having to be on the ice around, around the locker room. How did you find that balance, or the ability for you to adapt and to find that balance? And how do you think that might apply to what you have to do moving forward in the PWHL with, on ice, off ice commitments, things like that, now that you've gone through and had to learn how to balance things and be successful in all those areas, as you've mentioned?
I mean, I mentioned leaning on my teammates, and I feel like that was something that I really cherished, because a lot of our older teammates would tell us, listen, like, you got to do work on the bus. Like, if you have to write an essay, write it on our trip to Harvard. If, just plan ahead, make sure that you're organized. And so those were all things that, we had to do. Like, you just couldn't, procrastinate. I'm not a big procrastinator anyway, but like, I didn't know that about myself. So it's like, you learn so much as you go. But again, it starts with your teammates and your coaches, because they help you so much. Like, that's your community to start with. And they share on their experiences and pass them on to you. So, you got to take them in and receive feedback, positive, negative. You just got to take it in. And then, yeah, I would say just making sure that with any transition, like it was hard from high school to college, because in high school I didn't drink alcohol and I was underage, and yeah, back home we would go and have fun, but because the age limit is 18. But now college, and we all know college, and it's like, how it goes. And I don't know, those were like, at Colgate we would always just say, like, make sure you got your teammates back. So that was so huge, because I feel like it strengthened our team off the ice and outside of the rink too. And it was so fun with your teammates. It was awesome. And so it was definitely hard to balance all those things, especially, someone who has never experienced it, never heard of it before, coming from Czech. I was lucky to go to a high school in the US, but like, girls who don't, it's so new to them. So again, like, lean on your teammates. And again, like, focusing on the transition going on to the PWHL, again, it's going to be different in so many different ways. And so being open for, to feedback and criticism and opinions and experience from others. And like, again, leaning on my teammates will help me a lot. So I feel like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's fair. So now let's wrap up by talking about this next chapter. So first of all, I want to say congratulations for declaring for the PWHL draft. It must
Thank you.
How does it feel knowing that that you've declared and that this chapter is right around the corner for you?
I mean, a year ago, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. If I was going to go play in Europe or in the PWHL, if that's what I wanted to do. And then, as you go, just kind of, it was always my dream to play in a professional league abroad, and especially in the US and Canada. But like, you grow and you experience different things, and you rethink and you consider all your options. But then, with the start of this year and everything, it just kind of solidified that that's what I want to do. And the whole year I was working up to become a strong player that is a good candidate for the PWHL, while staying focused on Colgate in my career there. But like, I would be lying if I said it wasn't, I wasn't thinking about it. But like, I didn't make it the main thing of my career, or my last year at Colgate. But like, it's definitely, a privilege to be able to declare and be a part of the draft and experience this. And I would like to thank all the girls and women who came before us, who paved the way, and were able to be a part of this setup of a great opportunity. And so it's definitely a privilege. A few years back, we wouldn't even be able to look at this and think about that. But yeah, it's a privilege. I'm super excited to be a part of this and see what's next.
Yeah, and I know that we talked earlier about, you can only really control what you can control. It isn't really, you're always going to think about those other things, but it's important to kind of keep those out of the picture as much as possible, the uncontrollables, as I'm referring to them. But you are projected to be one of, if not the top pick. And so I'm not going to ask about specifics about which which place you're going to go or how you feel about these different places. But what I do want to know is, how do you mentally prepare? How are you mentally preparing right now, knowing that you are highly sought after, highly thought of? And how do you kind of keep yourself grounded? What are some of those things that you're doing to keep yourself grounded, keep yourself, as a lot of people say, where your feet are, like just in this moment, and not thinking about the pressures of this next stage?
I was just going to say, Steph would always tell me throughout the season, be where your feet are, don't let that carry you away. So you kind of take that out of my mouth there. But I feel like I'm a little bit separated because I'm back home in Czech, and, you know, it's such a different community here when it comes to the PWHL. But, yeah, I mean, I have people texting me about, you know, where do you think you're going to go? How high do you think you're going to be drafted? Like, are you excited? What's this? What's that? What do you think? And it can be overwhelming, but at the same time, like, I'm so privileged to share that excitement with those people. Obviously, those are, you know, my friends and people I know, so it's not just, like, random people, but I try to kind of stay out of those conversations a bit because I try not to overthink. I don't really think about it too much, to be honest, because that would drive me crazy. So I just try not to worry about it too much. Like, draft is in, 2 weeks, and so just trying to be, again, like, where my feet are, enjoy my home with my family, friends. Me and my parents, my brother, are coming up together to Ottawa, so that's super exciting. And, you know, I try to focus on the things that I can control. I can control where I'm going to be picked and what spot. But it's important to stay humble and you know that whatever comes my way, I'm going to be so honored to be a part of. So I don't worry about it too much.
Good answer. I love that. And I love how grounded it is, right? Again, it's just like it's whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but you know who you are and you know how you can handle that.
Yeah. And I mean, there's moments where I'm like, oh my God, what if this and what is that? And then I just kind of, you know, I pause and I'm just like, I can't think about that. Like, that would just bring me down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you know, and obviously I read stuff online here and there, but, like, I don't focus on it. It's more of like, and it was at Worlds too, like, people, you know, the staff would tell us, don't read what's online, but I just kind of enjoy it. It kind of fuels me because, one, it's either people hyping you up and cheering you on, or it's people criticizing you, and both things motivate me so much. So both ways. But I don't dive into it too much either. That wouldn't be super healthy, but I just feel like a good balance of everything is healthy, so I try to keep it that way and distract myself here with my friends and different activities and being at home, and then be able to experience this awesome experience with my family and friends. That's just, you know, on the top of my list right now, and then once it's draft night, then it's going to be a different priority there in the moment, and then we'll see where I'm going next year, but up until then, can't do anything about it.
Well, I'm glad to hear rather that you're going to be able to enjoy this, the start of this next chapter with your family there with you here in Ottawa. Before we wrap up with the exciting rapid fire question segment of the show, I do just want to say congratulations on declaring, and good luck in the draft, and good luck heading into next season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. And as I mentioned, the other tradition on this show is that we always wrap things up with the rapid fire question segment of the show. I always say this is only rapid fire because I'm going to ask you. You can take as long as you want it, as long as you want in answering the question. It's just going to try to limit me and how many follow-up questions I'm going to ask.
All right? Good. I don't know how rapid I'll be, but I'll try.
That's okay. That's okay. It's just a reminder for me not to ask so many follow-up questions.
All right.
Are you ready to take the test?
Yep.
Okay. First up, go-to pregame meal.
I'd say pasta or rice and chicken and some veggies.
Favorite cheat meal, or if you don't have a cheat meal, I'm okay with subbing in like a treat or your favorite snack or something like that here as well.
Yeah, Kit Kat McFlurry with caramel back home. it's uncomparable. Like McDonald's in the US and in Czech, same with KFC, it's uncomparable. So I take advantage of it here with limits, but it's fire.
Is it better? Sorry, is it better in Czechia?
It's better here. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Do you have any superstitions or pregame rituals?
When it's possible, I try to tape my stick. As soon as I come into the rink and I have my dress clothes on, I just grab my stick and I tape it on the bench. I listen to music, put my wax on and everything, and then I put it in and I go change. I go to the training room. Yeah, that's probably about it. I don't really like taping my stick too much, so I don't want to tape it on game days. Fun fact, actually.
There it is. You heard it here first, folks. So you mentioned that you're listening to music. What's that go-to? Do you have a go-to pump-up song or maybe a playlist? What are some of those songs on that playlist? Whichever way you want to take this.
Right now, I would say this Czech rapper, actor, but other than that, I would just say pop music. I'm not a big rap girl besides this Czech artist, and it's a mix of everything.
What's the Czech rap artist's name? Actor. Okay. Now I have some homework after this call.
There's some explicit music there, but it's okay.
Okay. Good to know. Keeping on the music theme, who owned the dressing room music this past season, and what do you remember being played most often?
Well, at Worlds it was Mrazka and Laska.
Okay, that's fair.
And then at Colgate, sometimes it was me, sometimes it was other girls, but we would try to play country on Mondays or just
theme days. I like that. That's good. Okay. That's interesting.
Or during practices, we would have Rihanna days, so that was fun.
Okay, good. I like that.
Yeah.
What's one thing that people don't know about you?
Oh gosh. I mean, a lot of people, my teammates know, but I'm a big sleepwalker. All my teammates know, and it's in Czech and it's in English. It depends. Yeah, okay. It's big. There's some crazy stories from my sleepwalking times, but yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
I can tell you, first one to ever be a sleep talker on the show. So congratulations.
Good. Glad to be the first one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's one word teammates might use to describe you?
I would say passionate.
What's something that remains on your bucket list?
I don't have a bucket list, but
Ooh.
I would.
Good. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that is fair. But I mean, there's some things I would love to do, but.
What's one of those things that you've always wanted to do, or something that now you want to do?
I want to go to LA really bad. I mean, playing GTA. I'm a big gamer, so GTA definitely I've been playing it for a while, so probably 10 years, honestly. So that's something I've always wanted.
Die hard. I like that. Okay, that's fair. If you could go back and give yourself, your younger self, advice, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself to just stick in with the process. Don't give up. Don't be discouraged by people who want to, throw rocks under your feet and who want to take you off your path. But lean on your close friends, teammates, family members, and you will be just fine.
Okay, great advice. And last question for you today. When people look back on your career one day, what do you hope they say about Kristýna Kaltounkova?
A great teammate, a great person off the ice, leader on the ice, someone that, that works hard and shows it every day. And that, I don't know, just a good person who shares joy with others. But when it comes to being a hockey player, I would love to, and I even experience it now a little bit, that people tell me that I entertain them a lot by my physicality. So just trying to feed the crowd and give them what they want with hitting other players. But it's probably up there already.
I love that, and it's such a great way to wrap up today's episode of Rinkside Rundown. I want to say a big thank you to Kristýna Kaltounková for joining me and sharing her journey from her early days in Czechia to leading at Colgate, representing her country in the world stage, and now preparing to make her mark in the PWHL. Kristýna, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy off season as you're preparing to arrive here in Ottawa for the draft. I always appreciate you taking the time. And like I said earlier, good luck in this next exciting chapter of your life. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thank you, Chris. It was awesome. Great chat. I appreciate your questions and your time.
Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as we both did, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow hockey fans. Your support helps us to grow and bring you more inspiring stories just like this one from around the world of women's hockey. I'm Chris Sinclair. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Rinkside Rundown.